Hey!
I didn't realize that we were already like on stage.
No, you were chatting already. Yeah, I saw you.
Yeah, because my screen right here to see the Twitch is on the left-hand side, and I have like kind of narrow like eyes, so I didn't realize.
How are you?
Sorry, everyone.
Right? Like the chat, and then there's another chat, and
Yeah.
God. My brain is going like, this is not good for lunchtime.
Okay.
Yeah, well, like unlike the usual streaming, we have like lunch break, coffee chat. So I hope everyone is having some nice lunch or drinks if you're gonna have like lunch. Oh, I saw myself. Hey.
And we
Hey, Daniel.
have a lot of folks in the chat. That's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Nice.
Joining everybody.
Now we have Sid doing something with the layout. I like it.
That's really nice. I was actually super excited about this week's topic. As you may or may not know, every week we have a different topic, and I just mentioned in the chat, in the chat we had before going live, how excited I was for today's topic, because it's my favorite thing to talk about ever. It's web accessibility. So regardless of whether you're already know something about it, or you're just curious, or you're just here for a lunch break, that's also fine. Thank you so much for coming. Really hyped to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And actually, we have a really nice interviewee today that will talk about web accessibility, a topic that concerns all of us, and we need to work strongly as developers to make the website better. And for that, we will welcome today the unique, the best, Anuradha! Sorry.
Thank you so much for joining us and making time. You're very busy.
Thank you so much for inviting. And I'm really excited to be here with like all of my favorite girls in the same frame. It's missing, but it's okay. We are all here. Hi everyone. Should I introduce myself? I guess.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So my name is Anuradha Kumari, and I am a senior front-end engineer working as a front-end consultant here in Amsterdam. And I'm quite passionate about accessibility, so you will always see me talking about accessibility a lot. And I'm also recognized as Google Developer Expert for Web, Microsoft MVP, Cloudberry Ambassador, and Women Techmakers Ambassador. I'm really excited to be here and talking to you all.
We are so excited that you're here. And actually, as you notice, she had all the titles that we have for developer communities. So just in case you want to join one, ask Anuradha, the expert on having programs.
She completed almost all.
Yeah,
I collect them all.
You're like at the final level. So what's the last thing that you're
we have one thing for sure, get some stars, but let's see.
Oh, that's true. We will nominate you after this. Don't worry.
I feel that, I am,
You're well on your way, I guess. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for introducing you. We all know each other from different spheres, kind of, right? So I don't know, like Alba, how do you know Anuradha?
Well, actually, I work with her in the consultancy she's working at in Passionate People. So we met at work, and she moved from India to Amsterdam, and I live in Amsterdam. So now we are neighbors, let's say. So yeah, I actually met Anuradha at work, but we met each other in every conference we go to. So it's really funny, yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. And
it's nice because we knew each other online even before I joined Passionate People, right? We were in the conference talking, and then I'm like,
yeah, exactly. That was amazing.
Alvaro, thank you. You're the best.
He's always here. Sweet one.
He's my favorite enemy, but yeah.
Yeah. Josefine, how did you know Anu? like
well, I
another
think
conferences
kind of-
or?
Yeah, kind of accessibility stalking, because that's not such a it's not such a big community, right? And if you like see somebody else giving amazing talks about accessibility and also like, I don't know, diving deeper into topics, writing about it, sharing tips on Twitter. And so I kind of fangirled before I even know like we're both GDEs and everything. And so yeah, that's kind of from afar. And I saw that in August, I think we're for the first time ever in person at the same event, not just like virtually. So really excited.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Also,
I also know Josephine from the conference, and girl, I'm a fan of yours too. Like, it's so good to talk about accessibility. So yes, you talk about accessibility, I'm your fan.
We need just more of us like every single time. I talk to somebody and they're like, aren't you worried if there's like other no, come to the club. Like we love to become more people.
Yeah, I like this openness, and also like the casual, atmosphere that you see someone as, let's say, like a role model or someone who you think is cool to talk about, accessibilities or anything hot topics up there. And then like one day when you go to the conference, these people are there, and then you're gonna have a chance to talk to them, or even, I don't know, go hang around together in the cities, stuff like that. And for me, it's like doing these kind of stuff with the celebrity stuff. That's how I feel. But at the same time, it's so casual, so I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really
And like Arisa, I know you from the conference
Yeah.
itself. Last year we were in JS
Yeah.
first conference.
Yeah, Arisa
you
is
know
a
what?
rock star.
Not yet.
Oh, you are.
That was actually my first time JS World conference, and in person, I would say. Second time in person, but still kind of first time.
Yeah, like I remember the siren stuff, and yeah.
Oh yeah. I always trigger any accidents on stage, so I'm kind of a drama queen, I would say, when it comes to speaking on stage. So I triggered my first fire alarm in this very JS World like conference last year.
Oh, that was the first time.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that was the first time, and the following was the React Alicante. Just recently, I made my laptop get froze, like freezing, so I couldn't show anything at all from my laptop at the Remix Conf. Just recently happened like a few weeks back, so I think I got everything when I could like make it happen. So
I think, like, everyone knows you can handle it. That's why these things happen to you, because you will play it even after that.
maybe,
Yeah, that's
maybe.
true.
Yeah.
Shall we slowly dive into our topic of the day?
Yeah, let's
Maybe
do it.
people can also drop in the chat whether they have been already working with web accessibility or if they're really new to this. We're just curious. And I don't know, maybe we can start with explaining a little bit what that means and why it's important. Anna, do you want to go first?
Yes. You asked me, right? Did you ask me or Alba? Sorry,
No, I asked you. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
You're a guest,
cool.
so you get
Okay, yeah, cool. So yeah, I like to give a very short and sweet example of accessibility. Like it means making resources and services, like everything, accessible to everyone, all our users, regardless of their disabilities, right? So, and it's very important to talk about accessibility because by default, the web has been made for everyone. So if we go ahead and check out even the world's first website or things like that, so it was made very accessible. Like you can access it through assistive technologies like keyboard, and it will still work well. Somewhere on the way, when we started making dynamic stuff and we got the power of JavaScript, which is pretty good thing. I really love JavaScript, like it's my jam. But like they say, with great power comes great responsibility. So if we have a great power where we can do everything, so we must be doing it very responsibly. So still that even like without knowing, we are not leaving a section of people out of it. So one common example is like now we cannot make any interactive element out of any element. Like you do not need just a button. So when there was HTML, we use button to create a button, right? But we want to make fancy stuff, and we can use any fancy stuff, right? Like div, span stuff, and you make a very interactive element. You can click around it and do stuff. But then again, when we do that, are these still accessible when someone who is not able to use a mouse and they are trying to use it? Maybe they are just using keyboard. Then were they accessible to that person as well? So this is the concept. Like it's much more, but in a nutshell, like thinking about just more than just what we can do or what we can test, thinking about all the different users, because first of all, we need to understand about all our users and the diversity of users. Like users can be of like they can be anyone, and they can have different kinds of disabilities, right? So we need to understand about users. We need to understand from their perspective. We need to understand how they might be using the web, and then we need to test in those ways, right, to ensure that we are not leaving anyone out, and we are including all our users. So this really is about like thinking all about our users and making sure that disabled users can also access the web and perform all the actions.
Yeah, totally. That's a great summary. I read the other day how actually like lots of the advances of the web, of our technology that we use nowadays makes the like everything in life more accessible, or it has the potential to do that, right? Like if you think you have a print newspaper, how for example, as a blind person, how would you consume this information? It's possible, but it's a lot harder to do. And now, so we have this massive opportunity of saying, if it's digital, I can have a screen reader read it out for me, for example, and we should use that. But as developers, we really have to take care that it actually is possible, right? Because else it just gets super messy and we're not taking advantage of these great opportunities that we have.
Yes, exactly. Like we have all the stuff. We just need to ensure that we are following all the proper guidelines and like creating it in a way that it can be used by those technologies, right? Like we have all the assistive technology from the very start. Like when I was like starting to read about accessibility, like 3 years ago, like I always did not knew about accessibility, right? There was a time where I did not know about accessibility. It's not taught in the colleges. It's not given to you in when you are like, ramping up to join a project. Like very rarely people used to talk about it. And I joined Frontend like 9.5 years ago. Like I'm very old. So yeah, so we did not know about accessibility. And so when I read about it, I was like, oh my, like I've been doing everything wrong like till now, right? Because I did not know that people could be using it in that way, or yeah, this was an issue. So this is one thing which I always say, that one massive gap in things not being accessible even now is the awareness is not there. Like, many people, like there could be people that they know about it, but just by the name. And so awareness is really important. And that's why I really like everything when people talk about accessibility. Even if you are talking about just the basics, it's really important, because if people come to know about it, they get interested, and then they will dive in deeper and they can go deeper and do more. But the first thing to know is there something that exists like that, So that's the first thing to do something. Like to know more, you need to first know that this thing exists, and then only I can explore more about it. So yeah, awareness is something, and that's why I always I feel that we should be talking. We are talking a lot more about accessibility nowadays, which is a really positive change. We need to talk a lot more about it still.
Yeah. And actually, something that you said that I think is really important is that you are blaming yourself for in the beginning when you start developing website, didn't know about it. But I think that's not your fault. That's the fault of the company you were working with, because they didn't take into account accessibility for their code. And that's more the mentors we had, isn't it? Because right now we have like the governments putting a lot of AEA, whatever, that you need to complete to be a proper company. But in the past was not there. So we didn't actually think about it because we didn't have to do it for work. So I think awareness is important. And also that you speak about it is important, but also the companies who have responsibility over this. Because it's
Yeah.
kind of,
Can't blame companies totally as well, because people like us work there, and like I don't know the people who were before me, they also didn't know. So I think, yeah, education. I see someone's comment. Education, definitely we need more education. Like in college, in boot camp, in workshops, we need a focus on accessibility. Companies also, because to be honest, every company I've worked till now, every client I've worked till now, I've rarely seen a focus on accessibility. So I have been the one telling that, hey, let's focus on this, or how would it be made more accessible, and so on. So yeah, it's not something about blaming or something. Rather, we need to talk about it, and we need to, even if we know that, okay, people are not really caring about it, or they are not focused, we need to put that on a table that, okay, here's something, this is very important, and we need to do it. And like my experience has been like, the developers like you and me, we rarely push back this change. We are like, yeah, this looks good. Of course, if it's for the user, whatever we create, it's for the user, right? Like the user has to use it. If the user can't use it, why am I even building this product? But the major pushback definitely comes from the leadership, like from top, from the business. That's there. But then again, I think by making some proper use case, we can talk, and it will be a slow transition is what I've seen. Like nobody gets on board 100% totally. Yeah, let's do it. Unless it's a pressure from law. That's what I really like even in this, like in the EU, we have so many laws. In the UK, the government laws are so strict, which is pretty good that all of like all the projects, specifically the government projects, they're really focusing on accessibility. And so that's very good to see. Even in Netherlands, I guess they have this mandate that all the bank companies and other things have some date, maybe 2025 or something. By then they have to be accessible and all. It's pretty good that more and more of such mandates are coming in, because yeah, if like then business does not have excuse, right? Like it's a law mandate, and we have to, otherwise it will not abide by the law. So I think government is really has a big role, and it's good that I see that the policies are working.
Yeah. One thing it came into my mind, like want to ask you the question is, how do you think like the people started to talk, or what do you think, like made people to feel comfortable talking about? Because for example, like when I was little, I have a brother like 5 years old, like younger. And when he was buying a, I forgot the name of it, but something like kind of a little Game Boy or stuff like that, obviously he doesn't want to have a pink. But I didn't know that, like the color for him in his case looks different. So I didn't ask him why he bought this pink color. But it turned out for him, it looked like a gray silver. So, I mean, like this kind of stuff, like I didn't notice like until he told me. So, but maybe for some people, let's say like has colorblind, do not feel comfortable talking about it, because they might feel like it's not something necessary to talk unless they're going to be asked or stuff like that. So I was thinking, like what made people, or actually the users, started to feel more comfortable to talk about. Because like I see the impacts why nowadays we started to talk about accessibility as much a lot is because we started to listen to more users' opinion. So I wanted to ask if you know like something about.
That's actually a very, very good question. And to be honest, because I know about, like my introduction has been 3 years back. Before that, I didn't know much, but I'm not an expert in answering this or anything else, but I would like to say just my opinion here. I come from India, right? And being a disabled person, let's be colorblind, or maybe it's just one form of disability, there are other forms. So being a disabled person is not the best experience for you in a society sometimes. Yeah, you are not acceptable, and you are given multiple names, like I don't know, differently able, just trying to, maybe some people also try to glorify it and try to put the disabled people on every what do you call it, inspirational quote and all and such like that. So like it's not a good, so people don't come out, like color blindness is an invisible disability. So even today, I think many people do not come out about their invisible disabilities because somehow you feel that you will be discriminated in this society. It happens. Like maybe it would have become less. And since I do not represent as that, I cannot say on their part that what they feel. But the discrimination, even today, it's real, right? And I can only think about what it would be 10 years ago or more than that. So I guess, people didn't talk about it much because of that. But when the digital revolution occurred, when things started getting digital and all, people slowly started talking. And I have seen talks about accessibility from various experts in the field for like 10 years, 11 years. They have been talking. And believe me when I say they are also talking about the same stuff. They used to talk about that, how you should add all text to the images. That's very important. How button should be used, like if you want a button and stuff like that. And today, like you would feel me, Josephine, like today also we are talking about this, right? Like, hey, come on, images should have alt. If you have video, you should have closed captions and stuff like that. So we are still dealing with the same kind of errors, right? Like the errors have been there. So if you see there's a very nice report, 1 billion report by WebAIM. So which every year it takes top 1 billion websites and or 1 million, 1 million websites, and it audits their homepage for accessibility errors. And it's just automated tests, and automated tests do not catch 100% of the errors. But even those errors, you will see that there are like so many errors, and it is decreasing a bit, but the decrease is not that welcoming. Like it needs more decrease, I guess, considering that these are the top websites of the world, not just like any websites maybe which we create out of our hobby and something like that, right? So, but Arisa, one thing I do feel has happened that we have to come back to your question is when COVID happened, right? When COVID happened, everything has to go online. Everyone was locked in the room. And that's when I think that was the, what do you call it, boiling point or tipping point where people would have realized that, okay, things doesn't work. Most of the stuff on web is broken and it's not accessible. Because imagine being stuck in house and you have to buy medicines. You just have that website where you can buy medicine. And you cannot buy the medicine because you cannot access that website. That is such a inconvenient. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, that's the worst thing that could happen. So after that, I definitely saw that people talking more about accessibility and also more focus on accessibility. So this definitely is one of the situations which I've seen in my lifetime where we have definitely tried to focus more. And I see so many people talking about it. And focusing more on it. So that definitely is one of the points, I would say. And also people are now acknowledging more, which is good. And you learn in the process. Like I did not know much about disabilities. I still am not an expert on disabilities, right? But I read about disabilities. I read about invisible disabilities and stuff like that. So it makes me more aware. And I think it makes us all more aware towards other people. And that even if like we cannot judge that what other person might be going through, and just be mindful for everyone. So I think that's there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to really quickly point out also, I shared a link, Cards for Humanity it's called, and this deals you 2 cards, and combined they give you like a user persona that you maybe haven't considered before, just because we're human. So we go from our own experiences, and maybe that's also if you are not disabled, maybe you then don't think about it, or you don't think about everyone. And it's a normal starting point as long as you're willing to take feedback and improve and learn about it, right? And so I think this is really good to think outside of the box of stereotypical disabled users, or what they maybe look like or experience the web like, and think, what are the things that people maybe not disclose, and they really don't have to do this, but you still should educate yourself. And there's a lot more, or there's a lot to learn, I think, for all of us in there.
True, that's actually pretty nice, because one of also the steps of doing inclusive design and making it inclusive for everyone is to use persona cards, where you can have different cards and you can see that these are the users and what kind of disabilities they might have and how they might be using a particular flow. So yeah, that's a pretty nice link.
Yeah, I learned a lot about with this page, because I didn't realize that some of the things that happens to us and maybe are not our whole life, like anxiety, stress, can lead us to use websites in a different way. And for example, I can enter in a social media when I'm stressed, because the way they are showcasing the timeline, the way they are adding ads, so I cannot focus on something, the way they are refreshing the feed, I can focus, so I leave, because I have anxiety. So I didn't realize till I see this kind of games that explains you that are disabilities too, because you didn't think that something that could happen to you that is not an injury, could be also a problem. So yeah, I think it's really, really smart to do this kind of stuff of using the user persona to think about how your app is being used. Yeah, really interesting, actually.
Yeah, and I guess sorry, go ahead. Just quickly wanted to say about this, because I feel every users, regardless of how any backgrounds they have, the way they have a look at the webs itself, it's different. Let's say you're in the very sunny beach, and the sun is very strong, and you're not in the shade. So in this case, that's actually one of my favorite points, when Josefine is showing the accessibility talks internally, externally. I was able to see, with this toolkit, how it's going to look like. And I cannot read this thing, if the website itself has a very bright theme itself. So, and people will take a look at the website itself in a very different environment. It could be in a very dark night, or it could be that they have even a slower 3D environment. So that's why people also started to talk about the performance as well. And one thing I realized is the way people are going to follow the content too. This thing I felt interesting, because I like the Japanese pop culture. So I read a lot of manga stuff, comic books. And the way we read is a bit different than, let's say, how the Western books are written or things like that. So some of, let's say, my friends who also like to read the comic books, manga, stuff like that, they also gave me the question, is it the right order to read this way? Because I get confused. And yes, it's true. We read differently depending on the layout and stuff like that. And this kind of background kind of reminded me of the way to follow the flow naturally does matter a lot, because web in general wants to tell people and users the important information and what they're looking for. That's why there is but if you, let's say, don't follow the structure and put very, very important information that your users need to have a look at it, in the first site into the very bottom, and in somewhere the copyright note, then no one is gonna find it, and that's not fair for the users. So I feel accessibility is actually everywhere, and that's something that I kind of like the way when accessibility, is considering everyone, to include for everyone to make it easier to find the information that they need. So in a way, we are always considering about the users and trying to organize the web itself in a clean and the, let's say, the simple way for everyone. Yeah.
Very well said. Yeah.
I really like the resource that you shared, because this is also where I found out about all the different use cases, not only people with a disability, but also maybe with, you mentioned, Arisa, with something temporary or something that's in a situation. Maybe I have quote unquote normal vision, I think. I don't know. If I'm in bright sunshine, I can't read, or if I'm in bed and I'm doom scrolling, it's like very bright. So I need like dark mode. And all of these are situations, or if you have a baby or a cat and you just have one arm, or your internet is terrible. There's so many cases in which web accessibility is so beneficial. So there's really, so many layers to this.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Like, I always suggest people to go through that because you get a different perspective about it, because it's a pretty people-centric approach of designing and approaching any problem solving, So it's pretty nice. And yeah, like you said, like dark mode is actually an accessibility feature. Like people use it and it really benefits everyone, right? It doesn't benefit just disabled people. It benefits everyone. Everyone uses that mode. Can use, like not uses.
Yeah. And especially if you're coming at it like from business, right? If you want to sell something and you don't know how to convince somebody because somebody just asked in the chat how to put accessibility in like processes in place in a company. And it's a longer conversation. I find it really hard. But one thing that usually like gets people a little bit on board is saying like, hey, do you know how many people are affected? And like how much money they would spend if you would include them. So I think this is always a good starting point for the whole like processes thing. What's your experience when it comes to that?
Yeah, and also checking out the laws of that country. And then, I mean, it's sad, to be honest. I feel very bad when I have to like tell the laws for people to care. Very honest opinion. But yeah, I mean, whatever makes the work done. But yeah, I think we can also check the laws and we can say. So there's that. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, even US has ADA, and in Europe we have laws.
Yeah, actually, I'm wondering because I have a problem because I'm allergic. So each time I go to a different country, it depends on the country. They have allergens in the menu, but other countries didn't give a fuck. And sometimes I get a reaction at allergic attack because I didn't expect to have something there, because maybe it says burger and you don't expect to have nuts there. And
I totally agree.
And it depends on the country. They have different levels of that. So I think that could be law related too. And they don't give nothing to allergic people if you are in another country that they didn't check that. So yeah, that's really a pity. I mean, people can die because of that. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I tell you from my perspective, like I never knew much about allergy till I came to Europe. Like, I don't know. Like, I did not know. I heard about lactose intolerance. I'm like, okay, this is one I know. But I did not know much about it because I had never even met or I've never saw anything in restaurants like that. But I realized that, oh my God, this can be so serious when I came to Europe. And when I met you, Alba, I have friends who have allergies so well. So I was so scared to offer her anything to eat because I'm like, oh my God, I might kill her.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, but
I think it depends. Like many things depend upon that. So even accessibility laws are like that. Not every country puts lots of effort, and to the best I know is that most of the countries only have this, that the government website should be compliant, but it says nothing about non-government websites, right? So I think the government websites on almost most of the countries, you will see that they are at least compliant. So yeah, and but one more thing about the process of putting accessibility in the mind at a company. One thing which really helps is that if you create a use case and you show them, like let's say it's an existing project, then you can find that, okay, this use case is not accessible, and then you can show it to them and say that, okay, this is something which is not accessible, and you propose, like you can have the solution and you show them that, hey, this is the problem, this is the solution, how this will work if this is accessible, and you can reach more users. But also the effort, like this is the effort, because I think if they see that, oh, this is not something that takes ages to finish, because I think that 90% of the accessibility work is not very complex. Complexity arises only when we are creating very complex components. Then I can understand if you have a very fancy website where you are dragging, dropping stuff and everything. Yeah, things gets a bit complicated and you need to do more complex things there. But one important thing is if we are starting a new project, the best way to put accessibility or think from accessibility perspective is when we are starting off. When we are starting off, you have nothing to fix. You have no extra liabilities. And once you bake in accessibility into the solution, you don't have to come back to it, rewrite your solution, or change your design system just to make it accessible. So if it's from the start, you save lots of time. Business saves lots of time, lots of money, because even if not today, maybe after 5 years you will have to make it accessible. So it's better to do it today. So I think creating a use case and talking to your team lead or PO or someone, it really helps, and showing them that how this is not that different and how this is a better approach. And the world is changing. We should be literally not thinking about anything that is not accessible. Like it should be by default by now. So yeah. And anyone who will think from that perspective will always have an edge. So yeah, I think that helps.
Totally. Yeah. I think it would be great if it was possible to integrate from the start. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. And what I found quite useful was that if you have an existing page and people are like, we don't have the time, we don't have the resources, we want to, but like, where do we start? To look at Google Analytics and say, what are the most common user journeys? What are maybe the most commonly visited pages? What's most important for our business? Let's start there. Let's start as small as we can, because then people will see, okay, so if we update these things, if we fix this color contrast in this component, it's going to already affect a bunch of places. Our score is going to go up. And so it's kind of, not everything, and depending on the size of the project, but it's kind of a lot of low-hanging fruits that you could fix if you wanted to. And so there's a lot of opportunity there, I think.
I totally agree on what you said. Like that's the best approach to follow. Just follow the critical path first. Like focus on the critical path, and then once they are done, you take the less critical path. And you don't have to. That's the main thing. You don't have to go from 0 to 100% in one sprint, right? You can take it in steps. Go from 0 to 5%, then 5 to 7. Like it should be a progress. It doesn't have to even be a linear, but just upward process. So yeah, it doesn't have to. That's another thing. Like we are not going to put all the effort and money to just fix all of the issue at one time. It's not even feasible, right? At most of the times. But yeah, just tackle it like that. First, find out all the critical part, fix it, and then go on to the less critical part, and so on.
Absolutely. And you could also, like, if you every time you touch something, look at how you can refactor it, right? So it doesn't have to be like, because it is really daunting. Like I once worked for this massive company, like car company in 40 markets or whatever. They were massive. They had to implement accessibility, and there were like so many devs sitting there just like, yeah, but if we touch something, everything is going to break. So one thing that we, like, no joke, it broke. Like, we every time we refactored something, we would be like, okay, how can we carefully make this a little bit more accessible? And it was such a pain, but it happened.
Yeah, maybe they have more problems than accessibility in that company, because if they change something and everything broke, yeah.
Fair, but haven't we all been there?
But actually, I was wondering, because in the past, when I did accessibility stuff in the companies I work for, I used the Axe tools, and it seems that only that one exists. But I want to ask you if there is other tools that you use for the development itself, or for detecting issues that you have that maybe are not that obvious.
Yeah, to be honest, Axe is the best. I mean, there might be more, but I only know much about Axe only. So because many things you see, they are actually powered by Axe. Like even the Lighthouse, which we use, Lighthouse also uses Axe engine in the Go. And then there are linters, which provided by Axe itself. So it's pretty nice. So you can also if you want to, it's pretty good. Like if you are starting out, then it's good to put some linting in the place. Maybe there are linting for all different frameworks for React and Vue and so on. So if you add those in ESLint as ESLint plugin, and then they would be again low hanging fruit, which like alt image will not have alt, then it will yell at you. And if you try to use a click on a div, it will yell at you, so on. So, but those are something which we shouldn't be missing. So it's good that a linter catches it, and before pushing the code only, they will tell you that no, you can't push the code yet. You have problems.
Important.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is good. There's also something called Xcode, which you can install in your terminal. Like you can install. Okay, Sally. Yeah, I think I've heard about it. Thanks, Daniel. This also looks pretty cool. So go ahead and check it out. Sally and Daniel shared. And yeah, so Xcode, you can also put some of this in your CI/CD. So you can integrate it in CI/CD. So what happens is that it will run it, and if it catches that there were some accessibility errors, it is not going to pass it on, right? So it's a good check. But these you can do only when you are starting off a new project, or you are working on a project which is very accessible till now. If not, you would want to move these to gradually. Like you can still use those ESLint plugins, but either you sit and fix everything in one day and push, which is like very unlikely. Then you can slowly start them off as warning. That first they will just show as warning. And then maybe you try to fix one kind of error in one go. Like let's make this one compulsory, which is images should have alt. And then you fix it and then go on. Like everything has to be gradual. And yeah, Polypen browser. That's a nice addition, really. Like this browser.
Browser itself. Okay.
Yeah, it has so many. It's focused on accessibility. It's created by Killian. Like it's an amazing browser.
Really
Like,
cool.
yeah, so I've seen his talks and the demos. They are really cool. Like I haven't used it yet personally, but they are mind blowing. So yeah, that's a complete browser, like mind blowing. But yeah,
Let's download it now, so I can have it for later.
apart from that, Microsoft has Accessibility Insights. You install it as extension, and then you can do lots of testing with that. But all of these are like, again, automated tests, right? That's, yeah, I can see it. Even I'm a fan, so I can see someone he was definitely a fan. Adding it there. But yeah, and DevTools now, like specifically Chrome DevTools, I really love Chrome DevTools for the capabilities they have added to test for accessibility in lots of ways. It's just amazing how many things are there which we just miss on. We don't know. Like we just know maybe just about Lighthouse or React something, right? But there is lots of stuff. There is accessibility pane. If we want to deep dive, we can check the whole accessibility tree. Like normally when we go to the elements tab, right, we can inspect the elements. So we see the HTML. But we have an option where we can go ahead and see the accessibility tree instead. And then you will see, so basically how any accessibility, like any assistive technology works, right? Like we have screen readers or switch, braille display, stuff like that. Like how does that work behind the scenes? So like, how does the browser work, right? Like how do we see stuff? There is HTML and it gets painted because of that. Or there is a DOM and you see it and okay, this is a button. These are the children's, like the content is its children and so on. And that's how the whole web page is done. There is a separate tree, which is not DOM tree, it's called accessibility tree. And what it's based upon is it takes into all the semantics that, okay, this is an element. Oh, its role is button. Okay, is it focusable? Okay. What are its contents or what should be the label and so on. So these are the stuff that it focuses on, and it takes it and all the assistive technologies, they interact with this. So they have the information coming in from the accessibility tree, and based upon that is what information they will let us know. Maybe I should share my screen. Do we have time? Like,
Yeah, of course.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm just painting in the.
Yeah, it's better to visualize maybe. And I'm interested in to see it too.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, me
cool.
too.
I think it's cool. I would let me share this. And I need to send something there. So we can check any. Like, tell me which website should I open?
Maybe ours? Storyblok?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
yeah, but just for context, maybe we are currently in the process of refactoring the
It's not about, pointing something. It's about showing the tools.
Oh, no, absolutely. I just wanted to put that out there so that our website team doesn't get like really mad.
Yeah, I think this is because the screen is like, okay, can you read it? Okay, I think this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So this here, I'll make it bigger. Yeah, I think it's okay. So
No, it's perfect.
yeah, like normally we have this DOM, we can see all the elements there. Like this is a button, this is what we see. That okay, it's an anchor and blah blah blah. This is what we see. But I think it's an option from somewhere. So from settings, which I definitely have to Google again, like how do we start it? But there is an option to. I will let you know later, maybe. But yeah, there is an option where you can say that experimental. Yeah, that definitely was experimental. Yeah. So you can select this option in experiments that enable the full accessibility tree.
Okay.
And then what it does is that it converts the whole this tree into accessibility tree. So just as I click on it, now you see a different kind of tree. It basically is every element, it just tells that one information it takes. And this is what is passed on. So like this is just generic. So okay, fine. This is a header. So the role is banner here. This is a link. So all the important information, because what do you want as a, let's say, screen reader user? Example of screen. You want to know that it's a link and what is its name, right? Like so that you need to decide if you want to click on this link and so on. So it just says, okay, this is a link, this is a name, and yes, it's focusable. So you can go on it, focus on it. And how it's derived from a static text and so on. So it says like that. You can also check for every element. So like if I inspect on try for free, there is this sub tab where you can get style computed. Here in the start, there is something called accessibility. So it gives you the information about just the node that we selected. Like here, I have just selected this anchor. So it tells me that, okay, this is a role, this is focusable. So basically, what's the name of it? What's this role? What could be different states of it and so on. This is what it shares. And if it's there computed, there is no. Like if we would have added something called ARIA label or something like that, it would appear under ARIA attributes and so on.
Okay.
So it is a pretty good one. Why? Because it really helps when you are very deep into accessibility and you are trying to debug something. Like many times what we do that we have multiple combination on a link. Maybe like you have even title and you have ARIA label. You have both of things added. And you are trying to debug that, okay, I have this name here, but somehow when the screen reader user is using it, some different name is getting announced. How is that possible? Why is a different name being announced? You come here and you see that what is the content, and let me just like this is an anchor, right? I will edit it, and let's say I also add a ARIA label to it. New label. Wow, so many spelling mistakes. Okay, so wow. Okay. So now we see the name has changed to new label. So because ARIA label supersedes the contents and title. So once we come here and debug, we get to know that, oh, because I added this, that's why the screen reader users are hearing something else while my text is something else. Like if something happens maybe by mistake or wantedly, what was like, there could be anything, but these mistakes I have seen. Like I have helped some of my friends who were debugging issues, and they were like, I'm like, oh, this is because of this, because of the hierarchy. And so these things happen. They look very small, but they happen. So this is a very nice place to debug, is what I say. Like you can debug pretty nice using these tools once we get to know specifically about accessibility tree. So this is pretty good. And actually, I really like to recommend, because we are talking about Axe anyways, there's Axe DevTools. Like, yeah, you can check with Lighthouse, but also Axe DevTools is so cool. You go to Axe DevTools and you scan the similar way, you get errors. And what is cool is that maybe I click on this error. You can highlight that. It will take you there that, okay, this is the element where the error is. Fine. You can share and stuff, but this is pretty important. Click on more information and you get a very nice detail about that error. You get to know what's the compliance issue, what is the problem, why should it matter, like how does it affect the user and stuff. Like it's so good. It tells everything about that specific rule. So if you are new to accessibility, it doesn't have to be new. Like if you are new or you are every day working with accessibility, I think this is pretty cool to read about all the rules, right? Because we cannot mug it up all. But yeah, it's pretty good to know in details about the rule, and it gives the links and everything, all of the guidelines. Pretty good. What's the user impact, the serious user impact, and so on. It's pretty good. And I learn a lot from this. I just do it for hobby. I just go to a website. Like this is my normal state now. If I go to any website, I just judge it. Like I DevTools and I just start using keyboard, and you get to learn a lot. There is nothing like to like not judging in a wrong way or something, but you get to learn. So this is something which is pretty cool. Another thing is it's about all the different kinds. Let's say I will always Control-Shift-P. No, Control-Shift-P. No, I always forget the
commands. Yeah, I'm the same.
Command-Shift-P. Yes, Command-Shift-P. Command-Shift-P in the Chrome DevTools. You come across all of these different commands, and like you can do some of the checks, like for color blindness. Like you can simulate some of the blindness. Like you can say that emulate CSS like dark mode and so on. Okay. So if the page has dark mode, it goes through that and so on. So and Control-Shift-P, right? Let me go to another website. Like this is just when I was learning accessibility, I just created a website and I tried to put all the things.
Oh, nice. Then let's share it in the chat.
Yeah. So like, this is the first time I implemented dark mode, so nobody judges me, but yeah, put it in the chat. Okay, Storyblok, right? But it is good, like for testing also. Like let's test it here. So I say Command-Shift-P. I say emulate dark. Okay. Did it just happen with this? It should have happened, although, but yeah, it's how it works. It will emulate and it will make you dark. So that is for color. And then there are more, like much more, but animation. Yeah, I'm looking for animation. So it's very good to test for all the user settings. Like either you can go to your machine settings, right? Like we can also go to our machine settings and say that I do not want, like I want to reduce motion or I want dark mode and so on. And that should be reflected on the website. But if you don't want to go ahead and change the device settings, you can use the DevTools to do that. So that's why I like it. Like for example, for animation, like some people have their settings as reduce motion. Like I'm one of those. That's why I just scroll. I cannot see much animation. I have that issue. But anyway, accessible animation should be one where if user has no such settings, okay, go ahead and show all the animations and all the fancy stuff. But if user has reduced motion on, then we should reduce the motion to the very minimum. So this is something which we can test. Like, for example, here by default, both of them are like, animating, but let me go ahead and again open it. And what's that? Reduced. So if I tell that, hey, I want to emulate reduced one, so the accessible example, like here I just used stop animation. So like this is what it should be like. So we can emulate all of these user settings in the browser itself. So this are some of the things which I really like about Chrome DevTools. And yeah, so this is that. Like how we can fix that is on the page, but I'm not going to talk about that in the deep here. But these some tools, they really help to test things. And there's more, but these are some of the things which I wanted to, share right now. And I will just stop. I don't know where.
No, amazing. I mean, you did a really nice job in that website. I really like it. I will check all the use cases that you have there because I'm pretty sure that some of them I'm not following them.
I have such a big list of things to add, but I'm just lazy, I guess.
Maybe if it's open source or not? The project
it doesn't
itself?
have to be open source. I have put the code here.
But I mean, the website is open source, so maybe someone else that have use cases.
Okay, no, because my code is this was the first, I was doing it 2 years ago, so I have to first make it pretty in order to make it open source. I don't think it uses best coding practices. So sorry, that's why it's not open source. Anyways, I'll just you can remove the screen from there or maybe I'll stop. Because that's what.
Yeah, we don't have the control. Announce it.
I just removed it.
But this was really cool. Thank you so much for sharing.
I really learned a lot. And also as a person who doesn't have, let's say, the level that I can call myself as an expert about accessibility. I mean, it's always good to see, how people debug actually, and, with information to have a look at it. And the values that you're taking a look at has this meaning and the impact. So it was really practical. And still, I mean, during, this coffee break, lunchtime, you shared with us a lot of resourceful info and fun. So I really wanted to say huge thank you.
Thank you. I actually always wanted to share this, but whenever I make a talk, because I have to make a full front to end thing, and I never was able to introduce these DevTools thingy there. So I'm I want to say it somewhere. So I'm really glad that I got the time here today to tell this, because I do see that comment that, they didn't know how to emulate. So I'm glad that someone learned something. And I just want to take a moment to say that the people who are sharing the resources, they are such good resources. Even I did not know about the Magenta and the app. So thank you so much for sharing this. Even I'm learning a lot from all the audience. You all are amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
This was my favorite session, but I feel like our time is almost up. Do you have anything that you want to share kind of as last words if people want to get started with accessibility, or what maybe a good place is to do so? The stage is yours.
Sure. Thank you. The one thing I would always say is to always learn how the user uses the web. That is the most important thing. There are some of the links which I have and I can share it. I will have to find first to share. But how the user, this is something which actually brought lots of insights to me, because unless we know, if we just read and do something, we might still miss on something. But if we know how user uses it, for example, screen readers and keyboards and stuff like that, then we can test it like that, So the one thing which I have is, please talk about it to your teammates and others. Even if people don't know about it, it's okay. We can always start now. We don't have to know everything, but since we got to know about this word and some concepts, let's keep talking about it. And that's the main thing. I always say that the most important thing is we need to keep talking about it, and we need to discussing and sharing things about this a lot. This is the only, this is one of the best ways in which we can share more and more information and make people more aware. And I think as a developer, because we want to create for our users, so once we know that also our users could not use it, we will go ahead and fix it, right? So, and we will try to do it in the right way. So just talk about it with your teammates and think about it. Next time you work on keyboard, you are doing something, think that, whatever I created, can I access it using keyboard, using screen readers, and so on. So that.
Really well said.
Thank you so much for sharing the nice tips in the end. And we really enjoyed having you in this episode. And if you have any other new interesting topic, please feel free to reach out to us. And we're happy to, have you back again. And have nice coffee chat streaming too. I really enjoyed. So it's not a goodbye.
It's never a goodbye with you all. We will keep meeting in conferences.
Yeah, for sure. See you tomorrow, actually.
See you tomorrow.
Right. You two will meet tomorrow.
Thank you so much for having me. And I really enjoy talking to you all. It definitely didn't feel like a presentation or something at all. We were just chatting. And I just love this. This is a pretty cool initiative. Coffee Break initiative, and I love the audience here. The vibes is so good.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And the fact that I know at least half of the audience, that's pretty cool. I love you all, everyone. You all are amazing, and thank you so much for having me.
So supportive.
So many thank you messages. Before everyone leaves, we want to announce when it's gonna be the next streaming of our GirlCode Coffee Chat. So very quickly, before we're going to say bye, I wanted to say the next coffee chat is going to be 27th June, if I'm correct. Yes, this side, yeah. Always figuring out which direction here. And today we hosted in the lunchtime, but next episode, it's going to be back to the regular time. So it's going to be from 4 p.m. in Central European time zone. And the content would be announced in a few days, soon. So check that out. We're going to be looking forward to seeing you in there too. And who knows, maybe we will have another guest as a surprise. And one more thing, because at Storyblok, as me, Josefine, and Alba, we work at Storyblok, so just wanted to take an initiative or the chance to announce that we have a very cool ambassador program. So if you want to be collecting every kind of certificates, then you also could claim one or could apply to become one. So here's the new cohort just opened recently, so you can join the program from here and to start to apply. So here's more information if you want to have a look at it. And that's actually it, the little information I wanted to share from my side. And with that, I want to say a huge thank you again for everyone joining this streaming live, and whoever is going to watch the recording as well. And thank you, Anu. Huge thank you for joining with us, and we really enjoyed. And looking forward to talk to you soon. And as always, thank you, Josefine, Alba, and Sid in backstage for controlling it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.